Today we talk Fresno State versus UNLV. We preview it. We have lots of topics on for today. Gonna make you sweat. Everybody dance now. Keys to the game. Final score predictions. My name's Caleb. His name's Caleb. Let's do this thing. Hello, Red Wave. Welcome to Bulldogs podcast. Like I said before, my name's Caleb. His name is also Caleb. Keep it easy on you guys. It's not difficult. We've had people on here that think there's a mistake when they come on here. Oh, what? Both Caleb? Yeah, it's true. It's true. Both Caleb, both spelled with a C, both in Fresno, California. We'd like to welcome you to Bulldogs podcast. Caleb, we talked yesterday, but how have you been since then? You know, you've got to chew on what Jason from Let's Run podcast said about UNLV. How are we feeling today?
Overall, feeling pretty good. I don't know if I have a false sense of like security or optimism here because I'm definitely concerned about the UNLV offense and how the Fresno State defense is going to be able to contain them. I think that's kind of like my key term for the day is going to be containment. So, I really enjoyed our time with our guest, Jason, who came on. So if you haven't listened to that one already, go listen to the Get to Know with him, get to know the UNLV Rebels. But he was feeling, I guess, kind of how we were, like in inverse, like, not feeling super confident in their team and thinking the opponent could definitely have their way, if the things broke right. So, that hasn't really changed. I do still think that this could be, a trip-up game. And if Matthew Sluka, the quarterback for the Rebels, is able to, be mobile and definitely cause some problems in the running game, then it's going to be difficult for Fresno State. So all that to say, good. Very much looking forward to this game. Very excited to be there in Allegiant Stadium. So definitely looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, we didn't have final scores yesterday. We were still thinking through it. I don't know how close I am to final score today, but we're going to talk ourselves through it, Caleb. We're going to get there. You can follow us on X, Beware_Bulldogs, on Instagram, Beware Bulldogs Podcast, and make sure you head over to YouTube, subscribe, Beware Bulldogs. Hit the like button, comment down below, do all the fun stuff, hit the notification bell because we do go live to recap games. So we want you there in the chat. Make sure you head over to YouTube and subscribe. It really helps us out. Caleb, today's episode is brought to us by some fun people, some Fresno State supporters. First, the Quarterback Club, sponsoring today's episode. If you guys don't know what goes on with the Quarterback Club, they do a lot of fundraising specifically for the football program. Okay, and they have meetings all over the valley. So no matter where you're at in the valley, you can join the Quarterback Club. You're going to host dinners for the boys. Their main goal right now, from last that I heard, is we're going to get them a weight room. That's the goal for a Quarterback Club. We're going to get them a weight room. So if you want to get in contact, I want you to find Mike Stovall's contact info. He's on X and Instagram. DM Mike Stovall, Stovall, and ask him how you can get involved in Quarterback Club. Great club to be a part of. I guarantee you that. Great guys, huge, diehard Fresno State Bulldog football fans in the Quarterback Club. Caleb, when I went to the meeting, I was the youngest one there. We need more representation with our group. It's not that expensive. So call Mike Stovall, DM him on social media, and I'm going to get his phone number and put it on here as well. Second, another sponsor for today is Bill and Ted's Excellent Service, Inc. They provide the best lawn care in Kirtland. And I know because I use them and I love them. I mean, they make my lawn look wonderful. They save me lots of time, Caleb. I gotta say, if you're mowing your own lawn, you're doing it wrong. Like, save up some money and call Bill and Ted's Excellent Service. And the great thing about this is that they work with your budget. They will work with you, and they give you excellent service and excellent results. So check out their work on Facebook at Bill and Ted's Excellent Service or Instagram at the Excellent Ted Furnish. If you're ready to schedule service, call or text Ted. Here's a number, 559-567-2110. That's 559-567-2110. And let him know that Beware Bulldogs, or since I use them, that Caleb Nail sent you. So big thank you to Quarterback Club. Check them out. And Bill and Ted's Excellent Service. Making my front lawn look pretty good so that when I have Caleb over for dinner, and we have our meetings, he doesn't think I'm super lazy. All right, dude. So what do we know about UNLV? So we talked with Jason. We've seen their schedule. I mean, Christopher Gabriel, the local guy, was giving me heck on Twitter. I don't know if you saw what went on, Caleb, on Twitter with me and Tennessee fans, but it was bad. I got lit up. But
I did not see this, so you're gonna have to relay all the info to Beware Bulldogs.
Well, okay. We'll just do it right now. We'll get it out of the way. So I'm not a believer in Tennessee. Okay, I think they're a good team. They're probably the fourth or fifth best team in the SEC, in my opinion, and they're going to get in the playoff because the SEC is down this year. But the word on the street every year is that the SEC is the best conference in the country. So they're going to get 4 or 5 good teams. Tennessee has a weak conference. They're going to finish 10-2, get in. Okay, so I said that, and I said I'm not getting on the hype train for that reason. And do I think they're a little bit overrated? Yeah, I do. And so what I said was I think they're going to make it to the playoff and lose in the first round. Little did I know is that the Vols fans are crazy, and they lit me up like I live in China and I had a bad opinion. Like, I can't have an opinion in America here. Dude, it was wild. They came out. But you know what? It was pretty funny. Like, myself and my coworker and my brother were dying laughing. Just laughing the whole time. I mean, they were attacking me and saying that I'm terrible. It was fun. It was pretty. You're going to have to go check it out. It's on my X.
I will. Well, and the funny thing, too, is like, I'm sure you couldn't care less about Tennessee football and the SEC in general. I mean, you're primarily West Coast guy anyway. I mean, I know you follow everything nationally, but that's probably the funnier part. Literally does not matter to you.
My brother said the same thing. You're a guy that is a Fresno State fan. You have a job, your dad and a husband. You literally sit down at night, at 9:30, throw one text together, either post it in the morning or at night, and then whatever, go to bed. And then this happens and they go crazy. I mean, SEC, man, it's just different. It's a lifestyle. And, and 2 days before I put that up, I saw my cousin sent me a photo of a Tennessee fan at his dad's or grandpa's gravesite, a family member's gravesite, and he decked it out in Tennessee stuff and painted the grass orange and white checkerboard around his headstone.
Okay.
I mean, props, but those are the people we're dealing with here. Or that I guess I entered into this twilight zone of volunteer fans, and it is wild. You guys will have to go check that out. Okay. So and the reason I bring that up is because CG, Christopher Gabriel, is a volunteer fan, and he got on me too, and he said because at the beginning of the season I said UNLV's overrated. Then I said, I'm on the hype train now for UNLV after their win over Kansas. And so here's the 3 games. That's why I brought it all up. And he said, well, you think they're a good team. What about you in Tennessee? Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I'm moving on. Okay, their games, their schedule. At Houston, they won 27-7. They put up 72 points on Utah Tech and won 72-14. And then they beat Kansas in Kansas 23-20. What are your thoughts looking at these past 3 games where UNLV has been pretty good?
I mean, they're 3-0, and they've taken advantage of the games that they were in, and they came out with wins. So I'm sure that at the end of the season, Houston is not going to have a very good record, and Kansas maybe not looking as strong as we thought, especially compared to last season. But those are 2 Big 12 wins that UNLV does get credit for. So I think that the UNLV team is well coached, and they have a very good offensive game plan with utilizing a very mobile quarterback. So a lot to be concerned with. And, they're playing at home. And like our guest yesterday, Jason, he mentioned they're expecting a pretty good crowd here for this game. He said aided by the fact that the Raiders stink right now. So more people are wanting to root for the Rebels, which is kind of funny. But so all that playing into it, I think that it should be a really fun environment. And I guess, in past playing against UNLV, I mean, they don't always really show up. And I mean, it's a big stadium, NFL size stadium. So plenty of seats available. But I do think that UNLV is a top 3 team of our conference. I mean, with Fresno State, Boise State, and the Rebels there.
Yeah, I agree. Houston put up a good fight against Oklahoma. Oklahoma doesn't really have an offense, but it was close with Oklahoma. Kansas, Jason said we should have lost that game. Kansas kind of blew it. But the fact that they're in those games and they're winning those games, and there's good players on those teams, it speaks to the mentality of the UNLV Rebels and the type of players that they have. Play style, I just want to let everyone know that if you haven't watched UNLV play, you're going to see stuff that you haven't seen anywhere else offensively. They line up 2 running backs on the same side of the quarterback, and then they'll run some form of triple option, RPO. I mean, they do weird looking stuff, which is part of the reason why I'm worried as well, Caleb. I mean, we've seen it before. Our boys have seen it, but they give you so many different looks that you're not used to seeing. And I think what happens is you have to think for a second, what's going on here? Now, our boys aren't going to have any problem because they know exactly what's happening. But us, the fans, it's going to take us a little bit to catch up. But any thoughts on their play style before we get into our segments?
Only comment on that is like what you said, just visually, it's not something you see an offense lining up in very often. So it's very bizarre, some of their formations. But it has to make the defense uncomfortable with kind of preparing for a whole new style. I mean, I kind of liken it to preparing for, Air Force or Service Academy that's going to be running, kind of crazy, triple option, just pound it right at you. So kind of different in that regard is, you do have to prepare for it. It's a completely different look. And especially with a very capable quarterback running the ball, very dangerous. So I am glad that Sluka is not super proficient at passing. I think that could be where Fresno State can take an advantage in this game. So we'll maybe save that for the keys. But it just makes me feel uneasy because it's like, okay, I'm not used to seeing this. It's very unconventional. And hopefully, our defense is well prepared for it.
Yes, well, I mean, that's going to lead me right into...
As an expert on sweat and sweating, I may as well be a sweat scientist.
What's going to make us sweat? What are we nervous about? Brought to you by... We don't really have one, but I'm going to throw one in there. I do sell commercial insurance, and that can make you sweat. If you need anything, I got you covered. Give me a call, 559-897-5811. I'll take care of you. We'll do our best to not let you sweat as much. But for this football game this Saturday, Caleb, there's There were a couple things that I'm a little bit nervous about, and for all of you that are confused, we are the CNC Football Factory. Going to make you sweat. Put it together. You got this. What's going to make you sweat this weekend, Caleb?
I mean, pretty simple. If UNLV quarterback is able to just have their way and run all over the place. We did see last game against New Mexico that Dampier did have some success with just running a straight speed option, and seemed I couldn't really tell who blew the assignment or if it was just poor game planning, and UNLV took advantage, or excuse me, New Mexico took advantage of a weakness on the Fresno State defense. So if Sluka, like, first drive is like running and has 40 yards rushing on the first drive and then mixes in a couple passes, I'm going to be really concerned if the Fresno State defense does not have a solution for stopping this offense.
Yeah, I think that's my main concern. I think 1B is their secondary. They have some pretty good players in the secondary. If Mikey Keene doesn't show up and he, like the first 2 games, throws 2 picks, and we're giving them opportunities, I mean, I'm just going to start sweating because we can't have that in this game. They have an explosive offense and some very good players on defense. We can't give them any extra opportunities. So we got to hold on to the ball. If their defense or if Mikey's making poor judgment calls, then bad throws, I'm going to worry. And I actually, this leads me into another question of mine that someone brought up in the office today. And they asked me, Caleb, and this has come up on here before, how long do you think the leash is on Mikey Keene? I've seen 2 other quarterbacks play. I like what I've seen. If Mikey struggles against UNLV early, do we see another quarterback come into play? And I'm gonna send it over to you, Mr. Pletz. What do you think?
That's an interesting question. It seems like he is QB1 for sure, but I mean, if he comes out in the first half and throws 3 picks and just looks rattled, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a change there. But with being second year in the program, and I believe he's a captain of the team. Recording a little later than usual, so my brain's a little scrambled here. But
yeah, I'm wiped, by the way. Look at my hair.
Yeah, I just have a hard time seeing the coaching staff make that change. But it would have to be something as drastic as wow, we are getting skunked here, and it's all because of Mikey making a terrible read or a terrible throw multiple times.
That was my answer as well. I said, no, I don't think it'll happen. If we're down 28-0 and they've scored all 28 points off of interceptions, when Mikey has 4 picks, okay, then probably. But in reality, I don't think that's going to happen. And 2, I don't think that the coaches would pull Mikey. Okay, they just got to get him in a groove. And I think watching Pat McCann grow as a play caller, he has put us in good situations throughout just early this year in these games. He's put our boys in good situations. And, I've heard him in press conferences actually talk about what he's done wrong and how he's learned from it. I really like hearing that from him. So I think Pat McCann is going to do a good job at putting our boys in the best position to be successful. So, okay, got sidetracked. What's going to make us sweat? Sluka on the ground and their secondary. All right, let's talk about what's going to make us dance. Our Everybody Dance Now segment is brought to you by Givoli Winery, local winery out in the small town of Biola, located on Biola Avenue, just north of Shaw. They're open Saturdays and Sundays, noon to 5. It's spelled Ziveli. It's like Zavelli, but it's pronounced Givoli. They have trivia night this Saturday. So, you can enjoy the end of the game. What time's the game, Caleb?
We'll cover that later, but it is at 12:30. So, assuming the trivia night starts at maybe 6 or 7, you could definitely head over to Givoli after the game ends.
Right. I was going to add, you can enjoy the end of the game with some pizza. Make sure you get your spot, and then we're going to play a trivia night. I'm hosting, by the way. We'll see how that goes. Starts at 6, but they also have Brick Oven Pizza there. Givoli Winery, fun place to hang out in the valley. Great outdoor space as well if it cools down at all. So thank you, Givoli.
Everybody dance now.
What's going to make us dance, Caleb? You owe us a dance for last week. I think you're going to have to set the bar really high so that you don't owe 2.
Exactly. I am planning on redeeming it in Allegiant Stadium. We'll see, maybe how close to the field I can get or something. But for this week, I'll be dancing if Fresno State gets 4 takeaways on defense. I think that this game comes down to Fresno State defense and how they're able to contain, like I said before, and just execute in general. I think that the Fresno State offense is going to be able to handle their business. I'm not super worried about UNLV defense. So it all comes down to Fresno State defense. So if they're getting takeaways like they have the previous games, and I think that that's going to make a huge difference in putting Fresno State in positive situations and even giving them short yardage opportunities to score. So 4 takeaways, I'm dancing.
I like it. I'm going to go with what's going to make you sweat, and we're going to put some antiperspirant on there. We're going to hold Sluka to under 50 yards on the ground. I think we hold Sluka under 50 yards. It's going to force him to beat us through the air. Maybe they have other guys that can help him out on the ground, but I really think we need to put Sluka in a position to beat us through the air. So we need to hold Sluka under 50 yards, and I'll be dancing. It's going to move us into our keys to the game. Keys to the game are brought to you by Manage X. Manage X will help you manage your property. If you have any property, head over to managex.net. Read about them, give them a call. They're great people, and they're going to help you take care of your commercial property, some homes, whatever you need, you give them a call. Managex.net. Great people, big fans of Fresno State, and big supporters of Boyer Bulldogs podcast. Kim, what are your keys to the game Saturday? We've covered some vaguely, but let's dive in. What really needs to happen for the Bulldogs to win this game?
All right, so I'll start on defense. That kind of seems to be my theme of this episode. So looking at UNLV's offense, they do have weapons on the outside. Ricky White, their wide receiver, is one of the best wide receivers in the Mountain West. And him and DeJesus, the little guy, I mean, he is shifty and just always seems to get open and dangerous in the return game too. So I think that the key has got to be in the Fresno State corners or secondary, and who's going to be able to match up there. So, I mean, we'd expect to see Cam Lockridge matched up on Ricky White. Just, put your best guy on the best guy. So we'll see how he's able to last for the whole game. I mean, I'm sure he's going to have a lot of good plays and lock him down, but is he able to sustain that? And the other guys, are they able to keep track of DeJesus and not let him, get lost and slither around and get open? Because we have seen that, especially last week against New Mexico, that they had their wide receivers were able to get open and just find the holes in the zone. So how's the secondary going to be able to handle the receiving threats? Because like we mentioned, we're assuming the game plan is to force Sluka to throw the ball. Let's put a lot of guys in the box, put a spy on him, do something like that to make him beat us throwing it. So that's going to put some extra pressure on the secondary because probably either zone or, a man-to-man, go defend your guy. So secondary going to be a big key.
Yeah, and I really think it's going to take a full team effort from the defense. I would love to see the DBs, like you said, lock them down. But I would rather have pressure and force quick throws, bad decisions, rather than getting like a coverage sack, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. So I want the D line to dominate. And from what I learned from Jason is that it sounds like we have the advantage in the trenches, which is really like the best part of. I shouldn't. That's a terrible way of putting that. My vocabulary is struggling late at night. Well, it always struggles, but winning in the trenches is the biggest part of football. If you can win the trenches, you're most likely going to win the game. And I think we have that opportunity. Defensive line, if we can win in the trenches, force Sluka to make bad decisions, we win the game. And then I think that makes it a lot easier for our secondary when it comes to running the ball. And I think these guys this is like my main key is I'm looking at the linebackers. So CV and Malachi, and I think Phoenix Jackson's going to get a lot of playing time because he's probably the fastest of the linebackers. And I'm curious to see what they do with him. Or are we going to run more of are we going to play our nickel more? I'm curious to see an RJ, but they are going to have to step up, stop the run. Maybe I'm guessing one of them is going to spy. They're going to have to step up and stop Sluka on the ground. The second we do that, I think we win this game because I do believe, I put it this way. I don't think Sluka is good enough to beat us through the air. I think Ricky and White and De Jesus are very good. Ricky, though, leads the team in receptions with 10. So I'm not impressed. So I think linebackers are the key on defense. Now let's move to the other side of the ball. Offense. What are you thinking?
I mean, first key has got to be health, and obviously that's not really something we can push there. But maybe some positive reports coming out of practice this week with some O-line getting back healthy. There's a chance that Mose might be back and healthy enough to give it a go this weekend. And then another lineman, looks like Edward Fanua, who's been out for, I believe, all the first 3 games here, or 4 games. Trending toward coming back. So just having more depth on the offensive line, I think is going to be huge, especially with having Mose back, the leader on that offensive line. So as much as we can make health the key here, I think that'll be huge if that can be the case. So that's got to be one key that obviously we can't even really control.
Yeah, I think running the ball. We dominate the ground game, we win this game. We dominate time of possession by running the ball, we win this game. Like I said, it sounded like Jason was worried about the trenches, their defensive line specifically. I believe he said they're a little banged up on the defensive line. So are we. But if Mose's back, that's huge for us. That excites me. I think we get the ball to Malik if he's well rested. Elijah, I trust. Donaldson, I trust. If we can get them the ball and they dominate on the ground, we win in the trenches with the big boys. I think we win this game by at least 2 scores.
Ooh.
That's if that happens. I think that's going to be the key offensively. Dominate on the ground.
Yeah, and I think dominating on the ground, controlling time of possession, holding the ball, shortening the game, and making sure we actually convert on all our possessions, which Fresno State did a good job of that last game. Only 3 punts. So, most of the possessions resulted in points. So I think that all of those coming together equals a Fresno State victory.
Lastly, I'd like to add the battle of field position in this because De Jesus has been back there returning punts, I believe. Mm-hmm. Jalen Moss has been doing it for us. Both of those guys are electric players. Who's going to keep the ball away? Like, what punter is going to do a good enough job to keep the ball away from them? What's coverage like? Who's winning the battle of field position? I think that's going to be key. So I pay attention to that. Anything special teams wise that you're looking at?
Well, we'll see if the Bulldogs try to attempt another 2-point conversion. I think 2 of the 4 games so far, Jade Mantle's gone out and completed a pass for 2 points. So look for that. And hopefully just clean execution on special teams. And we saw last week onside kick, defending it and getting lucky that there was a penalty called on the opponent. So that, and maybe not being as crisp with punt return, and just making sure Jalen Miles holds on to the ball. Don't get too crazy out there, and like you said, make sure it's secure. Good field position when we can.
Any other keys to the game you got?
Well, I mean, what is our hope or like expectation for Joshua Wood coming in? We kind of mentioned it earlier with, how short of a leash Mikey has, but he does have, I believe, 3 rushing touchdowns on the year and has provided a really good wrinkle in this offense. So, I mean, are we expecting more than like 3 carries a game for him? Or is that maybe about what we're expecting?
I think it's probably what we're expecting. Depends on where we get the ball. If we're getting the ball in the red zone, I think we're going to see a lot more Joshua Wood.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I don't see why he would come in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like it can't be an every possession type of thing. But yeah, situationally, and I do like going to him in the red zone. I mean, I wouldn't even mind like actually taking Mikey off the field, because right now he's been staying in and just lining up a wide receiver and kind of fake blocking. So I would like to have another weapon out there. I'm sure there's probably some trick play in the book where it's a double pass, or even Mikey going out running a route. So I'm sure that's coming at some point in the year. But I agree with you. I do like Joshua Wood in the red zone, and just gives us the opportunity, and even kind of matching the play style of UNLV. Like, hey, you guys can run with your quarterback, so can we.
I would love to see that. I'd love to be able to say, yeah, look at ours. Look at our backup. Outrun yours. That would be great. Oh, in Allegiant Stadium, we're in a dome. They can open the top. What is the weather looking like, though, in Vegas?
Weather in Vegas is going to be hot. I believe it's in the high 90s for the day, but I don't know. I don't even know if they would publish if the roof is going to be open or not. I'd expect it to be closed. So it should be a nice, pleasant day for some indoor football for the Bulldogs. But 12:30 kickoff, which is a rare West Coast early kick for the Dogs. So I'm enjoying it because my son is actually going to get to come to this game because the kickoff isn't after his bedtime. So we'll see. I mean, he's going to need to take a nap during the game, so that'll be interesting. But definitely glad about this. Better for family viewing. TV, we got Fox Sports 1, so on the big channel on the Fox network, and also on the radio and the Bulldog Sports Network with Paul, Pat, and Cam.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Take some photos for us. We want to see for the ones that can't make it. A spread is sitting at UNLV as of right now, -3.
Mm-hmm.
UNLV favored by 3 points. They're getting the home field advantage, so they don't even know where to go with this. Caleb, has this helped you at all? Has talking through this helped you at all? Do you know where you're going with this?
I have. I've also crossed out my final score 3 times on my notepad during the episode. So I have come to the conclusion Fresno State is going to win this game 29-27.
Okay. I'm going 35-31 Fresno.
Okay.
I do like, and this isn't like, the Michigan episode where we're having a good time picking Fresno State. I do think Fresno State is the better team here. I do get a little worried what UNLV can do, but when Fresno State plays their best, we are the better team. So I think a 35-31, 38-31 score is very doable. Over under 49.5. I mean, like I mentioned, if we're talking about keys to the game and I say running the ball, and Fresno State does that, and then UNLV also does that, runs the ball, you could be looking at the under here. And if could you see that happening, Caleb? Where we hit the under 49.5?
That would be, yeah. I mean, maybe you're looking at a 24-21 game that'll put you under there. So, yeah, probably a game in the 20s is possible. I don't know. I think that just have a feeling UNLV is going to hit an explosive play or two that could result in a touchdown. And yeah, so far Fresno State offense has been very competent with putting up in the 40s and last week in the 30s. So the Fresno State offense is there, and they should be able to score at least the equivalent of 4 touchdowns. So I have it going over at this number just because I do think that both offenses are going to do a little bit more than expected.
I agree. I'm taking Fresno State to win, and I'm taking the over. Before we get to the Mountain West scoreboard and run through those games, Caleb, let's quickly shout out our sponsors once again. Quarterback Club. If you guys want to support the football program, this is a great way to get involved. They do so much for the football team and the boys. And reach out to Mike Stovall. Stovall on social media. Next episode, I will get you his phone number. Quarterback Club. And then big thank you to Bill and Ted's excellent service. If you're in Kerman, West Side, and you need some lawn care, reach out to Bill and Ted's excellent service. 559-567-2110. 559-567-2110. Actually, Caleb, before we run through the scoreboard or the schedule for the weekend, I had some questions come in from online. Okay. One person asked, do you think the size of the green V is too small on the back of the helmets?
Yeah, I did see this comment on Twitter, and I was trying to pay attention during the game. And I guess it does look smaller. I also didn't look up a reference point for maybe when Pat first put it on the helmet. I think that it kind of just blended in on the white helmet. So maybe on the red helmets, there's a little bit more contrast with the color, and maybe it'll pop a little bit more. But I mean, I'm just glad that they're still on the helmet. That could certainly be a thing that maybe gets phased out over time. So I mean, as long as the V is there on the helmet, I'm not complaining.
With our current coaching staff, I don't think it'll ever go away. I honestly don't think the V will ever go away. But yeah, of course, I'm always for a bigger V. And I mean, I'm for like an entire uniform themed after the V. Some people may call me crazy, but I think the women's soccer team has a green jersey. Why can't let's get a green jersey out there?
I think women's basketball has done it too.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe it was women's basketball team that did it. Thoughts on the blackout unis? We haven't talked about the blackout uniforms coming back. Blackout uniforms are back, but the helmet is red script Bulldogs. What are your thoughts on the blackout uniforms?
Well, this is where people usually call me a boomer or a hater, because I'm a traditionalist for Fresno State uniforms. So anything out of the ordinary, I am usually voting no on. So I get it. It's cool. I'm sure that the players like having something different to wear. But I mean, at home, we should be wearing all red. We're the red wave. And on the road, just put on the white jersey, and that should be good enough. But I was raised on Pat Hill, and those were the options. So I guess it's just ingrained in me now. So not a huge fan of the blackout. We should be wearing red at home.
Yeah, when people argue about brands and things like that, and it's cool for the kids, Penn State, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, they don't do anything with their jerseys and dominate. So I'll put it this way though, Kip, because I'm with you. At the first blackout jersey, I thought was cooler than this one. Mm-hmm. The fans get excited for the blackout and everything. That's fine. That's great. But I don't think the red that we have really, I don't know, it doesn't go well for me. I don't know. I guess I'm getting older too. Red. We wear red. I am totally cool if we wear a black helmet for an away game. Like, we want a different color. I mean, a different helmet for an away game or something. That's fine. But I'm with you. We're the red wave. Let's wear red. Every time we pull red in the stadium, we struggle. Okay. Very quick here. Volleyball just lost. I'm just coming in. Volleyball just lost to San Jose State 3-1. Oof. For the rest of the week, we have women's soccer and volleyball on Thursday, and then we have football on Saturday. I'm trying to get it to load. Okay. Volleyball plays Boise State at the Save Mart Center Thursday at 6. And then women's soccer plays Boise State in Fresno at 7. So head over to Save Mart Center, watch volleyball, and then go over and watch some women's soccer on Thursday. Okay, Mountain West schedule for this weekend. San Diego State heads to Michigan to play Central Michigan. Central Michigan is favored by 3. Caleb, any chance here that the Aztecs win this one away from home?
I have no idea. Probably lean no. I mean, Central Michigan is still coached by former Bulldog coach Jim McElwain, so probably will be rooting for the Chippewas there. So I think that Central Michigan probably gets it done. San Diego State's playing freshman quarterbacks this year. New coaching staff, new system. So I think still a lot of growing pains there. But yeah, I have no idea. I haven't really watched either team.
I'm taking Central Michigan. They're favored by 3. I'm taking Central Michigan, and I'm taking the under 53.5. New Mexico State this weekend at Aggie Memorial Stadium. New Mexico State gets the home game. You think New Mexico gets their first win? New Mexico Lobos are favored by 9 in this one.
Yeah, battle for the state, and this is probably going to be an ugly one. Just between New Mexico's terrible defense, but New Mexico State's terrible offense. I don't really know which one's going to give. So probably give the benefit to New Mexico. I'm sure coaching staff made their players run a little bit extra this week for all the penalties against Fresno State. Going on the road, I think that they probably come out with a victory. I don't know about covering, but at least straight up, I think Lobos get on the board for the win column.
Yeah, I'm going to take New Mexico State to cover, but New Mexico wins it. I think Dampier I think he's a legit quarterback, dude. I don't think he's a Lobo next year, and I think they go out and win this game. Air Force travels to Laramie to play Wyoming. Wyoming is 0-4. They've looked terrible. Air Force is not, they lost a ton of players. They're not what they were last year. This is another just not a good game. This one's actually being aired on CBS Sports Network. Air Force is favored by 4. You got anything on this one, Caleb? Who you got?
I mean, just that over under 34 is just the indicator that this one's going to be a stinker. I think I'm probably going to go with Air Force on the road, just with how bad Wyoming has looked so far, and probably win like 17-6 or something like that. So probably cover there too. So Air Force winning low and ugly.
I agree. The one thing that travels is the running game for the most part. Then we head to Boise to end the night on Fox Sports 1. Washington State versus Boise State. Washington State is 4-0. Boise State 2-1, ranked 25th in the country. I'm really excited about this game. I mean, Jainty, great player. The Washington State offense and their quarterback Mateer. Boise's favored by 7.5. Wow. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm hoping for a fun shootout. Washington State had a great game against San Jose last week and put up a lot of points. So I'm expecting a lot of points, big production from Genty. It seems like a lot of points to be favoring a Boise State team that still really hasn't shown much defense. So I think, I like picking against Boise pretty much always. So I think I'll take the Cougars with the points and probably to win outright too. So probably a game in the high 30s at least. I'd expect maybe 38, 35, something like that.
Yeah, I over under 64.5. That's a tough one, but I do like Washington State. if you don't like them to win, I would take them to cover the 7.5. But I like them to win as well, Caleb. Boise's defense is not that great. They couldn't win in a shootout in Eugene, Oregon against the Ducks. I'm not saying that Washington State is at that level, but their offense is very good. And if they can figure out their running game and stop J&T, I think they got a chance here, and I think they win this game. This weekend's going to be fun. There's a lot of good games across the country. 2 really good games with us and Boise and Washington State playing. Last thing I'll say, Sluka leads UNLV in rushing, and he leads them in passing. I did want to give some quick stats on Sluka as it loads. It's not going to help me out here. Well, sorry. Here it is. Okay. Boom, baby. Matthew Sluka, 318 total passing yards. That's what I wanted to get out there. 318 total passing yards.
Lighten it up.
And I believe as he has 253 rushing yards on 39 carries. He leads the team in rush attempts and yards. He leads he does not lead the team in touchdowns, but no one has 2 touchdowns. He's got a bunch of guys with 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then his touchdown to interception ratio is 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. So he has been protecting the ball through the air, but he has a 44% completion percentage on 48 attempts through 3 games. So we got to stop him on the ground. I think that's key number 1, Caleb. Key number 1. What did you say? Contain?
Yep, containment.
Word? Containment. I think that's key. That's the main key. Any last thoughts on this game, Caleb, before we get out of here?
Hopefully it's a complete performance from Fresno State. Coach Skipper's mentioned that in some of the press conferences so far this year, just playing a complete 4-quarter game where both sides of the ball are executing and special teams. So that's important. And if that happens, then Fresno State should win no problem. If it's a repeat of maybe a Michigan game where we're running out of steam at the end, then that could be tough for a defense trying to keep up. But very excited, looking forward to it, and should be a really, really fun weekend.
Big thank you to our sponsors this episode, Givli Winery, Manage X, the Quarterback Club, and Bill and Ted's excellent service. Give them a look, check them out. And then last but not least, big thank you to our Father in heaven for allowing us to do this stuff. Hey, for God so loved the world, he sent his one only Son, Jesus Christ, that whoever believes in him, they shall not perish. They'll have eternal life. You can have that eternal life right now on earth, walking with Christ. Hey, love you guys. Appreciate all your support. Last but not least, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.